In 1997, the whole of America went crazy for the song, Don't Impress Me, and Shania Twain became a legend. But then she disappeared as if she never existed. No new albums, no interviews, no public appearances. All that remained were vague rumors about a mysterious illness. 4 years, it was as if she had disappeared from the world she once ruled. Now, for the first time, the truth hidden behind the stage lights is finally revealed. After 15 years of silence, a woman defined by unbreakable inner strength, a passionate and complicated private life, and a collection of never-before-seen photos emerges to tell her real story. Only in this video will you truly understand who Shania Twain is. Born on August 28, 1965, in Windsor, Ontario, her journey began not with fame, but with hardship, a difficult childhood that shaped everything that followed. When Shania was just 2 years old, her parents' marriage fell apart. Her mother moved north to Timmins, Ontario, taking Shania and her 2 sisters with her. Growing up in Canada, Shania never knew the identity of her biological father, a quiet absence that followed her throughout childhood. But that loss was only the beginning of her struggles. Everything changed when her mother remarried a man named Jerry Twain, an Ojibwe man from the nearby Matagami Reserve. With his arrival, the atmosphere inside their small home darkened. Peace was rare. Nights were often filled with shouting, slammed doors, shattered objects, and voices raised in anger. For a young Shania, gentle, anxious, and easily frightened, those sounds became a source of constant fear. She would lie awake for hours, afraid to sleep, listening closely just to be sure her parents were not hurting one another. Though much of the violence stayed hidden from the outside world, it left deep emotional scars. As the years passed, those early traumas quietly shaped her, turning childhood fear into lasting insecurity she would carry with her for life. Whispers from her hometown, and later, Shania's own autobiography, would reveal that what she endured went far beyond visible scars. The damage was emotional and psychological, quietly tearing away her sense of safety, self-worth, and trust in the world. Yet even under that weight, Shania refused to break. Instead of surrendering to the pain, she reached for the one thing that could keep her spirit alive: music. From an early age, melodies became her refuge. She wrote simple, childlike songs and sang softly to herself, using her voice to push back the chaos that surrounded her. Music was no longer just something she loved. It became her lifeline, the last fragile piece of childhood she could protect. But heartbreak was only one side of the struggle. Her family sank into deep poverty, worsened by her stepfather's addiction and instability. Some nights, the refrigerator stood empty, and hunger became a familiar presence in their home. Realizing she had to help, Shania began performing in local bars and clubs at just 8 years old. She was a small child, barely tall enough to reach the microphone, yet already carrying a responsibility far beyond her years. Earning about $20 a night, her voice helped keep her family afloat. These stages were nothing like the glamorous arenas of the future. Smoke-filled rooms, drunken laughter, and a child singing through the noise, trying to hold her family together. By the age of 13, while most kids were still discovering who they were, Shania Twain was already stepping onto the stage of CBC's The Tommy Hunter Show. She continued performing at local events, fairs, and clubs, slowly building her confidence and skill. She even joined a band called Long Shot, performing top 40 hits and experiencing her first taste of professional stage lights. Small moments that quietly pointed toward a destiny far greater than anyone around her could have imagined. But like so many early dreams, it didn't last. The band broke apart after a short time, and the brief taste of spotlight disappeared as quickly as it had arrived. Once again, Shania found herself pulled back into a life defined by struggle. Her family was still drowning in financial hardship, fighting every day just to get by. With no other option, she returned to Northern Ontario to work alongside her stepfather, planting trees to survive. The work was brutal, nothing like the world she dreamed of. She walked for miles through thick, unforgiving forests, hauling heavy bundles of saplings across her shoulders, battling cold winds, rain, and an isolation that cut deep into her bones. Yet even there, far from any stage, music remained her refuge. After long, exhausting days, she would sit alone with her worn guitar, letting quiet melodies carry the dreams she was still afraid to say out loud. After graduating from high school, Shania made a silent promise to herself. Her life would not end in those forests. Carrying equal parts fear and hope, she left Timmins behind and headed for Nashville, the heart of country music. She performed anywhere that would have her voice. Bars, small-town stages, local events, no crowd was too small. Months of relentless effort finally paid off when a Toronto DJ noticed her talent and wrote a short article about her. That single moment of attention opened the first real door. She was invited to sing on a track by songwriter Tim Den, and soon after became the lead vocalist of a cover band called Flirt. But destiny wasn't finished yet. Not long after, Shania crossed paths with singer Mary Bailey, someone who saw more than raw talent. She recognized the fire, the hunger, and the unbreakable will that burned deep within Shania, setting the stage for a turning point that would change everything. Bailey once compared her to country legend Tanya Tucker, and those words lit a spark Shania had been desperately holding on to. For the first time, she truly believed she might belong in that world. Yet, just as confidence began to grow, fate turned cruel. She had no idea that her life was about to descend into one of its darkest and most heartbreaking chapters. In 1987, at the very moment success seemed within reach, a single phone call shattered everything she knew. Her mother and stepfather had been killed in a devastating car accident. The loss did more than steal her parents. It ripped her away from Nashville, from the dreams that were only beginning to take shape. Shania returned home carrying unimaginable grief, but she could not afford to break down. Her 4 younger siblings were suddenly left without anyone to care for them. In an instant, Shania became a parent herself. For 6 long years, she placed her own ambitions on hold and devoted every ounce of strength to keeping her family together. She sang at small resorts and local venues, earning just enough to survive. Night after night, after the crowds disappeared, she held on to a quiet hope that one day her voice would be heard where it truly belonged. Some fires, after all, are never meant to burn in silence. A new chapter finally began in 1993. After years of persistence, performing in modest bars and local events simply to stay afloat, she signed her first recording contract. That same year, she chose a new stage name, Shania, a word from the Ojibwe language meaning, "I'm on my way." It wasn't just a name change, it was a declaration, a promise to herself that the journey she had fought so hard to survive was finally leading somewhere. It was more than a name, it was a declaration of destiny, a signal that her real journey was finally unfolding. As Shania prepared for her debut album, a life-changing presence entered her world. Music producer Robert "Mutt" Lang recognized not only the power of her voice, but the rare creative spirit behind it. Their bond formed quickly, rooted in both artistic vision and deep emotion, blurring the line between collaboration and love. In 1993, they married, and together they ignited a creative partnership that would redefine country music. Their work culminated in Shania's second studio album, The Woman in Me, released in 1995. Every song was co-written by the two of them, fusing traditional country storytelling with a fresh pop edge. The result was explosive. The album sold over 12 million copies in the United States alone, propelling Shania from rising star to undeniable powerhouse. Yet she was only getting started. In 1997, Shania unleashed Come On Over, a phenomenon that reshaped the music world. Packed with unforgettable hits like You're Still the One, From This Moment On, and Man, I Feel Like a Woman. The album swept across the globe, selling more than 40 million copies worldwide. It became the best-selling album of all time by a female artist and one of the most successful records in history. Pushing boundaries even further, Shania released a specially remixed version for European audiences, a daring, unheard-of move for a country singer at the time. The gamble paid off, breaking barriers and turning her music into a worldwide cultural force. By 1998, Shania stepped onto the global stage with her first major world tour. Almost instantly, it was crowned Country Music Tour of the Year, a title it proudly carried into the following season. At the same time, Come On Over refused to loosen its grip on the charts, remaining on the Billboard 200 for an astonishing 99 weeks, a record so dominant it seemed untouchable. Her rise reached yet another historic moment in 1999, when Shania became the first woman in more than 10 years to win Entertainer of the Year at the CMA Awards. The victory confirmed what the industry could no longer deny. She was rewriting the rules and breaking long-standing barriers in country music. In 2000, plans were made for a Christmas album, but the project was ultimately shelved. Still, momentum never faded. In 2001, Limelight Records unexpectedly released the Limelight Sessions, a full collection of 16 early recordings from her pre-fame years, long before she signed with Mercury Records. The album offered listeners a rare, nostalgic window into the late 1980s, back when a young, determined Shania was singing in small bars across Ontario, quietly carrying her pain while chasing a distant dream. The release served as a powerful reminder that her success was built from humble beginnings and relentless perseverance. That same year, her life changed in a more personal way. Shania and her husband, longtime collaborator Mutt Lange, welcomed their first child, a son named Aja. His arrival reshaped her priorities, signaling a gentle shift away from the relentless pace of superstardom and toward something far more intimate and grounding. She quietly stepped back from superstardom, choosing distance from the spotlight to embrace motherhood, reflection, and healing. It wasn't an escape. It was a necessary pause after years of non-stop momentum. And from that stillness, a renewed and more daring Shania emerged. In November 2002, she returned with Up, a bold artistic declaration that reignited the global music scene. This release was far more than a standard album. It was a statement of identity and creative freedom. Arrived in 3 distinct versions: a pure country edition, a pop-rock interpretation, and an international dance version partially recorded in Mumbai, India. The ambition paid off immediately. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, moving an astonishing 874,000 copies in its first week alone. Tracks like I'm Gonna Get You Good and Forever and For Always quickly became worldwide anthems. The album topped the charts in Germany, reached #2 in Australia, and secured top 5 positions in both the UK and France. Its international version, enriched with Indian percussion and sweeping orchestral elements, gave the project a vibrant, multicultural energy that set it apart from anything else at the time. By now, Shania Twain was no longer confined to a single genre. She had become a global icon, an emblem of confidence, reinvention, and possibility. But just as her star burned brightest, fate intervened. In 2003, while preparing for a major tour, a simple horseback ride changed everything. She was bitten by a tick carrying Lyme disease, triggering a devastating turn that threatened to unravel everything she had built. At first, she barely gave it a second thought. But within weeks, her body began to betray her. Waves of dizziness, a loss of balance, sudden collapses, sometimes even while performing. When doctors finally confirmed the diagnosis of Lyme disease, it felt less like an illness and more like a sentence. The disease didn't just attack her physical strength, it went after her voice, the very instrument she had spent her entire life shaping and protecting. The once clear, soaring notes faded away. The effortless power that had filled arenas vanished, leaving behind fear and uncertainty. Shania faced the most devastating question any singer can confront: if I can't sing, who am I? In those moments, she believed fate had stripped her of everything she was. But the deepest blow had yet to arrive. Losing her voice was unbearable, but it was nothing compared to losing the man she trusted most. In 2008, the world watched in shock as headlines revealed the truth. Robert "Mutt" Lange, her husband and creative partner behind her greatest successes, had been having an affair with Marianne Thibault, Shania's close friend and longtime assistant. It wasn't simply infidelity. It was a complete destruction of trust. The man who had once been her anchor became the source of her greatest pain. Speaking later with Oprah Winfrey, Shania's voice shook as she reflected on that time. She had been struggling to understand why her voice was failing, while, at the same time, her marriage was falling apart. Music, once her reason for survival, suddenly felt meaningless. The stage that had always been her sanctuary turned into a place of unbearable sorrow. So she disappeared. She withdrew from fame, from her fans, from the world itself, wandering through a silence shaped by heartbreak and loss. Yet, as one of her own lyrics reminds us, after every dark night, there is a new dawn. And in the depths of that despair, help came from the most unexpected place. The person who helped Shania find her way back was not a doctor or a fellow artist, but Frederick Thibault, the former husband of Marianne, a man wounded by the very same betrayal. Two wounded souls slowly found peace in one another, not out of revenge, but through shared understanding. Only those who have truly reached the lowest point know how to help someone else stand again. Shania later reflected that she saw in Frederick the same pain she carried herself, and it was his quiet kindness and inner strength that drew her in. From that fragile beginning, love grew naturally. On January 1, 2011, they exchanged vows in a small, private ceremony on a beach in Puerto Rico. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in shades of orange, a soft ocean breeze lifted her white veil. There were no headlines, no spectacle, just two people once shattered by love, choosing to believe in it again. With Frederick by her side, Shania made a decision. She would fight her illness, confront her fears, and stand up to every obstacle that had tried to break her. What followed was a long and painful journey. She endured multiple complex surgeries to regain control of her vocal cords. Each step forward demanded extraordinary patience and strength, but she refused to surrender. Years passed in silence, and fans around the world began to wonder. Was her story over, or would Shania Twain ever return? Then, one day, she answered that question herself. Shania stepped back onto the stage, not as the fearless superstar of the 1990s, but as a woman who had fallen into the deepest darkness and still chose to rise. Her return was more than a musical achievement. It was a spiritual victory, proof that resilience can outlast tragedy. As she once said, "I lost my voice. I lost my marriage. I lost my trust. But I never lost myself." In 2011, after years of illness and silence, she marked her comeback with the song "Today Is Your Day." It wasn't just a title, it was a personal declaration, an anthem of rebirth after the storm. The following year, in 2012, she stunned audiences once again by joining legends David Foster and Lionel Richie for an emotional rendition of "Endless Love." The voice Lyme disease once threatened to erase now rang out stronger than ever, a living defiance of everything that tried to silence her. That same year, she released her deeply personal memoir, From This Moment On, opening her heart to the world and recounting her journey through fame, heartbreak, and healing. And then came the moment that truly sealed her return, the launch of her Las Vegas residency at Caesar's Palace, fittingly titled Still the One. For 2 years in a row, she played to sold-out crowds, night after night, greeted by roaring applause and glowing reviews. The Las Vegas residency didn't just mark a comeback, it confirmed that Shania had fully reclaimed her place as a true icon. And once the lights dimmed, she quietly returned to the heart of her artistry, songwriting. In 2013, she stepped away from the stage to search for the right producer for her next album, a move that showed how deeply she valued her creative integrity. Even during that pause, she couldn't stay away from the spotlight for long. Appearances at major events like the Calgary Stampede and the Prince Edward Island Festival reignited excitement, reminding fans that something special was still on the horizon. That promise became reality in 2015 when Shania launched her first major tour in more than 10 years. Beginning in Seattle and closing in Toronto, the tour felt like a victory lap, a powerful celebration of endurance and rebirth. Some believed it might be her farewell, but Shania quickly put those rumors to rest with a smile and a simple truth. She would never retire from music. She proved it once again in 2017 with her fifth studio album, Now, which debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. It wasn't just another chart-topping release. It was a statement of triumph after coming so close to losing everything. And her influence only continued to grow beyond the music charts. In 2022, Netflix released the acclaimed documentary Not Just a Girl, chronicling her remarkable journey from a small-town Canadian upbringing to global superstardom. The film was accompanied by a greatest hits collection and a brand new song of the same name, perfectly capturing the next chapter of her legacy. Then in 2023, at age 58, Shania surprised the world once more with Queen of Me, her first album under a new label. Critics praised its energy, honesty, and confidence, confirming that her creative fire still burned bright. Soon after, she embarked on a dynamic world tour, carrying her timeless songs and her unbreakable spirit to audiences everywhere. Many people know Shania Twain for her joyful, empowering hits. But those who truly understand her see something far deeper. What makes her an icon isn't just the music, it's the extraordinary strength hidden behind that radiant smile. And that is where our story ends. If you found this journey meaningful, don't forget to like and subscribe, so you won't miss what's coming next.